Right, hello folks, welcome back, welcome back. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Right, so the prophets, the prophets. Understanding these guys and familiaring yourself with them, you just get to understand the relationship between you and God, between you and the Most High. There's no way you can call yourself let's just say it's very important that you read these major prophets. Some of these stories that you read through, you understand your walk, but the relationship is right here. And as I was saying yesterday, the world was supposed to learn. You were supposed to learn. But it's a wicked world we live in. That's why they had to change who the Jews were. They didn't want you to learn. They didn't want you to see the example. The choice is yours. It's up to individuals now. See if any of this sounds familiar. If it sounds familiar. It happened to us. And as I was saying, it's painful for all of us. It's painful for both of us. The truth hurts. Nobody likes the truth. So let's make everybody uncomfortable, yeah? But see if anything sounds familiar here. The book of the prophet Isaiah. The vision seen by spiritual perception of Isaiah, son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah, the kingdom, and Jerusalem, its capital, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Father has spoken. I have nourished and brought up sons, and have made them great and exalted. But they have rebelled against me and broken away from me. Smash straight in there. The ox instinctively knows his owner, and the donkey his master's crib. But Israel does not know or recognize me. My people do not consider or understand. Ah, sinful nation, a people loaded with iniquity, offspring of evildoers, sons who deal corruptly. They have forsaken the Father. They have despised and shown contempt and provoked the Holy One of Israel to anger. They have become utterly estranged, alienated. Why should you be stricken and punished any more, since it brings no correction? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick. The whole heart is faint, feeble, sick, and nauseated. From the sole of the foot even to the head, there is no soundness or health in the nation's body, but wounds and bruises and fresh and bleeding stripes. But wounds and bruises and fresh and bleeding stripes. That's interesting. When I see things like that, I look across to the King James Version, and it's not there. It just says, but wounds and bruises and purifying sores, which are not being closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Bleeding stripes. They have not been pressed out and closed up or bound up or softened with oil. No one has troubled to seek a remedy. Because of your detestable disobedience, your country lies desolate. Your cities are bound with fire, and your land, strangers, your cities are burned with fire. Sorry. Your land, strangers devour it in every presence, and it is desolate as overthrown by aliens. Your country is desolate, your cities are burnt with fire, your land, strangers devour it in your presence, and it is desolate as overthrown by strangers. The book speaks for itself. I see there are other countries in this world who can totally associate with this. Everyone remembers. And the daughter of Zion, Jerusalem, is left like a deserted booth in a vineyard, like a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, like a besieged city, spared but in the midst of desolation. Except the Father of hosts has left us a very small remnant of survivors. See, except the Father has left us a very small remnant of survivors. You should never let things just, when you're reading, just go over your head. Just go right over your head. Donald Trump the other day, he said, what was it he said? He was doing a speech at some tech convention or something, and he said, "Oh, I think he said it twice actually. Oh, this is the last time you'll ever have to vote. You'll never have to do it again. This is the last time you'll have to vote." Whoosh, straight over everyone's head, and I'm like, what? Ever since in 2017. When in 2020, I watched a video from 2017 with Fauci saying, oh, during the Trump administration, there will be a major epidemic or whatever. Things like that don't go over my head anymore. Because we're watching that in 2020, actually living out the pandemic. And to watch it, the man said it 3 years ago. And that's what I mean when I say, like, we're all still waiting for justice. We're waiting for justice, but they keep giving us the next event, the next event, the next event, hoping we'll forget. We're waiting for Epstein files and everything. They think people like us will forget. We won't forget. We're waiting, and we keep bringing it up. But no, the next event, the next event. Sorry, I'm going off on a rant. Where was I? Except the Father of hosts has left us a very small remnant of survivors. We should have been like Sodom. We should have been like Gomorrah. Sound familiar? Hear, O Jerusalem, the word of the Father, your rulers or judges of another Sodom. Give ear to the law and the teaching of our Yah, your people of another Gomorrah. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices to me, unless they are offering of the heart? Says the Father, I have had enough of the burnt offerings, rams, and the fat of fed beasts without obedience. And I do not delight in the blood of bulls and of rams and of the he-goats without righteousness. How does that translate today? I'm fed up of your sacrifices, your rams, your bulls, your burning of incense. I'm fed up of it. Without righteousness, without obedience. How does that translate today? Oh, Christian country, Christian country. Oh, Jesus, 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 Jesus. Without obedience, without righteousness. Just outwardly displays words. When you come to appear before me, who requires of you that your unholy feet trample my courts? Yeah, God is so upset with this world, man. It's so angry. So angry. And people are just blasé, la-di-da. People have no idea what's coming, what's about to unfold. Bring no more offerings of vanity, emptiness, falsity, vainglory, and futility. Your hollow offering of incense is an abomination to me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot endure. It is iniquity and profanation. Even the solemn meeting. Your new moon festivals and your hypocritical appointed feasts, my soul hates. They are an oppressive burden to me. I am weary of bearing them. And when you spread forth your hands in prayer, imploring help, I will hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash yourselves, make yourselves clean, put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do right, seek justice, relieve the oppressed. Relieve the oppressed. And correct the oppressor. Defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:17, how relevant is that now? Learn to do right, seek justice, relieve the oppressed, and correct the oppressor. You nations have the power to do this. And you're twiddling your thumbs. You sat on your hands. Come now, let us reason together, says the Father. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are like crimson, they shall be like wool. If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of Yah has spoken it. How the faithful city has become an idolatrous harlot, she who was full of justice, uprightness, and right standing with Yah, once lodged in her. But now, murderers. Your silver has become dross, your wine is mixed with water. I don't think... That speaks for itself. Your silver has become dross, your wine is mixed with water. Your princes are rebels and companions of thieves. Everyone loves bribes and runs after compensation and rewards. They judge not for the fatherless, nor defend them, neither does the cause of the widow come to them. For they delay and turn a deaf ear. Cities all around the world, people are crying out. People are crying out like, this isn't right. This is so unfair. You're pricing us out of life. Everyone sees it. Everyone knows it. Nobody's asking the questions. You can't trust the media because the media's on their side. They just give you headlines to make it sound like they're doing something. And then the celebrity clowns come out. To distract you, make you look like everything's all right. And then they take home a healthy pay packet. And the fools are distracted by this nonsense. But it is wearing a bit thin now. It's wearing a bit thin. Your princes and rebels are companions of thieves. Everyone loves bribes and runs after compensation and rewards. They judge not the fatherless. They judge not for the fatherless, or the cause of the widow. For they delay and turn a deaf ear. Therefore, says Father Yah, the mighty one of Israel, I will appease myself on my adversaries and avenge myself on my enemies. I will bring my hand again upon you and thoroughly purge away your dross as with lye, and take away all your tin or alloy. I will restore your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. Afterward, you shall be called the city of righteousness, a faithful city. So now we're moving in to prophecy. Zion shall be redeemed with justice, and her returned converts with righteousness, uprightness and right standing with God. But the crushing and destruction of rebels and sinners shall be together, and they who forsake the Father shall be consumed. But the crushing and destruction of rebels and sinners shall be together, and they who forsake the Father shall be consumed. For you will be ashamed of the folly and degradation of the oak or terebinth trees, in which you found idolatrous pleasure, and you will blush with the shame for the idolatrous worship which you practice in the passion inflaming gardens which you have chosen. For you shall be like an oak or a terebinth whose leaf withers, and like a garden that has no water. And the strong shall become like tow, and become tinder, as his work like a spark, and they shall both burn together, with none to quench them. When he talks about strong becoming weak, it's just, the word which Isaiah, son of Amos, saw revealed concerning Judah and Jerusalem, it shall come to pass in the latter days, here we go, that the mountain of the Father's house shall be firmly established as the highest of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it. Many people shall come and say, come, let us come up to the mountain of the Father, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and instruction, and the word of the Father from Jerusalem. Read Zechariah 8. And that's why I always think of like people who are doing this, Gentiles who are doing this, like really going into this. I said this before in one of my last videos, which I deleted, like I see them as like ambassadors. Because as you read stuff like Zechariah 8 and how Nations are coming back to Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles and stuff like that, and coming to pray for rain. It will be these people who have decided to come with us, great people who have earned their place, people like Dana Stevens, being ambassadors, going back and forth, people from all countries of the world who now dwell in the kingdom, now going back, teaching people, showing people the way. Some, when they're coming back, they're bringing people with them. Some will be given a greater name than us. Shocking. I know a lot of Israelites, you don't like to hear that. But, you know, it's here. It's here. Many people will come up to the mountain, they will say, and teach us. Teach us the way, walk in his paths. That's the law, guys. Out of Zion shall go forth the law and instruction and the word of the Father from Jerusalem. Latter days, you don't get it. You don't get it. Law's done away with, law's done away with. Yeah. Because you wanted to keep us from the law. We know now, we understand, we get it. Never again. We see you now. We see you now. Put the book down. Step away from the pulpit. Go and take a seat. We see what you did. And he shall judge between nations, and shall decide disputes for many peoples. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. It's not happened yet. This is far distant prophecy. O house of Jacob, come, let us talk in the light of the Father. Surely, Father, you have rejected and forsaken your people, the house of Jacob, because they are filled with customs from the east, and with soothsayers who foretell like the Philistines. Remember King Saul, when he went to go and, after Samuel died, he went to go and to the soothsayer to to foretell like the Philistines. And also they strike hands and make pledges and agreements with the children of aliens. Their land also is full of silver and gold. Neither is there any end to their treasures. Their land is also full of horses. Neither is there any end to their chariots. Their land is also full of idols. They worship the work of their hands. Sound familiar? What their own fingers have made. And the common man is bowed down before idols. Also the great man is brought low and humbles himself. Therefore forgive them not, O Father. Enter into the rock and hide yourself in the dust from before the terror of the Father and from the glory of his majesty. The proud looks of a man shall be brought low, and the haughtiness of men shall be humbled, and the Father alone shall be exalted in that day. Once again, enter into the rocks and hide yourself in the dust. Sound familiar? From there shall be the day of the Father of hosts against all who are proud and haughty, and against all who are lifted up, and they shall be brought low. The wrath of Yah will begin by coming down against all the cedars of Lebanon, the west of Jordan, that are high and lifted up, and against all the oaks of Bashan, east of the Jordan. You see, I don't need to really pay attention to that. When it happens, it happens. If they change the land of Israel, why should I really pay attention to Lebanon and Jordan and this and that and blah, blah, blah? It's not important to me. It's like people like to talk about, oh, all these books. All these books are great. Like, if you want to go deep, if you want to go deep into the meat, if you want to win arguments. But if you want to get saved, if you want to change your life, these 66 books are enough. Okay? Okay? But get an apocrypha. And after that, against all the high mountains and all the hills that are lifted up, and against the high tower and every fenced wall, and against all the ships of Tarshish and all the picturesque and detestable imagery. Then the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be brought low, and the Father alone shall be exalted in that day, and the idols shall utterly be abolished. Then shall the stricken, deprived of all in which they had trusted, go into the caves of the rocks and into the holes of the earth, from before the terror and the dread of the Father, and from before the glory of his majesty. Perfect timing. Like, over the last 5 years, people are turning up with, all of a sudden people have got cancer and they disappear. All of a sudden, very extremely wealthy men just poof, gone. Something's coming. Only time will tell. Now, obviously, it's not yet the arrival, the day of the Lord, yet, because other things need to play out. The mark and the son of perdition, obviously. But the faking of prophecy is about to unfold, as they've done before. You put 2 and 2 together. Orwell tried to tell us. But obviously he couldn't explain because obviously the media, we know how the media is. Orwell tried to tell us. We see it now. We know it now. When did he publish 1984? 1949. The man was trying to tell us something. Shall be stricken and deprived of all in which they had trusted. Go into the caves of the rocks and into the holes of the earth, from before the terror and dread of the Father, and from before the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake mightily and terribly the earth. In that day men shall cast away to the moles and to the bats their idols of silver and their idols of gold, which they made for themselves to worship. Go into the caverns of the rocks and into the clefts of the ragged rocks. Excuse me, from before the terror and dread of the Heavenly Father, and before the glory of his majesty, when he rises to shake mightily and terribly the earth. Cease to trust in weak, frail, and dying men, whose breath is in their nostrils. For so short a time, in what sense can he be counted as having intrinsic worth? For behold, Father Yah, our Elohim of hosts, is taking away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, every kind of prop, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water, the scepter taken. The mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the professional prophet, the one who foretells by divination and the old man, the captain of 50 and the man of rank, the counselor and the expert craftsman and the skillful enchanter. And I will make boys their princes, and with childishness they shall rule over them, with outrage instead of justice. I will make boys their princes, and with childishness they shall rule over them, with outrage and instead of justice. And the people shall be oppressed, each one by another, and each one by his neighbour. The child shall behave himself proudly and with insolence against the old man, and the lowborn against the horrible person of rank. When a man shall take hold of his brother in the house of his father, saying, You have a robe, you shall be our judge and ruler, and his heap of ruins shall be under your control. In that day he will answer, saying, I will not be a healer and one who binds up. I am not a physician. For in my house is neither bread nor clothing. You shall not make me judge or ruler of the people. For Jerusalem is ruined and Judah is fallen, because their speech and their deeds are against the Father, to provoke the eyes of his glory and defy his glorious presence. Their respecting of persons and showing of partiality witnesses against them. They proclaim their sin like Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to them, for they have brought evil as a reward upon themselves. Sound familiar? Everyone who lives in the West, does it sound familiar? Their respecting of persons and showing of partiality witnesses against them. They proclaim their sin like Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to them, for they have brought evil as a reward upon themselves. Say to the righteous that it shall be well with them, for they shall eat the fruit of their deeds. Woe to the wicked, it shall be ill with them, for what their hands have done shall be done to them. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, your leaders cause you to err, and they confuse, destroy, and swallow up the course of your paths. The Father stands up to contend and stands to judge the peoples and his people. The Father enters into judgment with the elders of his people and their princes. Remember what I said to you yesterday? It doesn't matter about you. It's about the leaders. It's about the priests, the wealthy men, the governors. It's what they're doing. The Father enters into judgment with the elders of his people and their princes. For by your exactions and oppressions you have robbed the people and ruined the country. You have devoured the vineyard. The spoil of the poor is in your houses. Boom. The Lord enters into judgment with the elders of his people and their princes. For by your exactions and oppressions you have robbed the people and ruined the country. You have devoured the vineyard. The spoil of the poor is in your houses. 10 minutes. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor, says the Father. Moreover, Father Yah said, because the daughters, here we go, women. If the Most High God was upset with women then, he's absolutely livid with you now. Moreover, Father Yah said, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with outstretched necks and with undisciplined, flirtatious, and alluring eyes. You know, the fake eyelashes, the sticking out, the sitting, yeah. Outstretched necks, and you see, yeah. Tripping along with mincing and affecting gait, making a tinkling noise with the ankles on their feet, with the anklets on their feet. How does that translate? How does that translate today? Back in the day, like they used to wear little ankle bracelets when they walked. It was ting, 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 like the belly dancers. Yeah. How does that translate today? In your heels. Yeah. This book is so good. Like, tripping along with mincing and affecting gait, and making tinkling noise with their anklets on their feet. Therefore, the Father will smite with a scab the crown of their heads of the daughters of Zion, making them bald. And the Father will cause them to be taken as captives and to suffer the indignity of being stripped naked. We've been through it. We know it happened. That's our ancestors. In that day, the Father will take away the finery of their tinkling anklets, the caps of network, the crescent head ornaments, tiaras, the pendants, the bracelets or chains, and the spangled face veils and the scarves, the headbands, the short ankle chains, the attachment from one foot to another to ensure a measured gait. Short chains attached from one foot to another to ensure a measured gait. You see how Japan, where the geishas walk like that's what they used to do. Chains on their feet so they don't like stride. So they just glide and tiptoe. Sorry, I shouldn't be enjoying this. But, ladies, you're in so much trouble. Seriously. It's all vanity, and it's just really overflowing these days. The headbands, the short anklets from one foot to another to ensure. The sashes, the perfume boxes, the amulets, the charms suspended from the ears to the neck, the signet rings, the nose rings, the festal robes, the cloaks, the stoles and the shawls and the handbags, the hand mirrors, the fine linen, the turbans, and the whole body enveloping veils. It shall come to pass that instead of the sweet odour of spices, there shall be a stench of rottenness, instead of a girdle, a rope, and instead of a well-set hair, baldness. We know how you Caucasians, you Westerners, you love your hair. Instead of a rich robe, a girding of sackcloth, and searing of captives by the scorching heat. Instead of beauty, your men shall fall by the sword, and your mighty men in battle. It just keeps coming up when I read you this book. And Jerusalem gates shall lament and mourn as those who wail for the dead. And she, being ruined and desolate, shall sit upon the ground. These things aren't just like one thing. Oh yeah, that's fulfilled. That's fulfilled. Close the book. Don't look at it. Don't read it. It's the covenant. It's the everlasting covenant. Every time we stray, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. The correction. The correction. The correction. Over time, happen again and again and again and again and again. The Most High corrects those who He loves. It's the divine plan. It's the epic story just building up, coming to an end. Like, how can people not see it? Each captivity, the fall of Jerusalem, 70 AD, Spanish Inquisition, the slave trade, transatlantic slave trade. But as you'll see, as we keep going through the prophets, how long? When? I'll leave it there. You're supposed to learn from this. So let's finish up. 2 minutes left. Because we'll continue again. First Peter 4:17. For time has arrived for judgment to begin with the household of God. And if it begins with us, what will be the end for those who do not respect or believe or obey the good news, the gospel of Yah? If the righteous are barely saved, what will become of the godless and the wicked? Who are the godless and the wicked? Therefore, those who are ill-treated and suffer in accordance with God's will must do right and commit their souls in charge as a deposit to the one who created them and will never fail them. We just going on a journey through the prophets, and I hope it answers all your questions.